Welcome back to my YouTube channel Roots of Biology. In this channel, I teach biology for class 8th, 9th and 10th, both CBSE and as well as ICSE syllabus. So in our previous class, I was explaining you about nervous system, that is for class 10th. That is for class 10th CBSE chapter 7, control and coordination. In our previous class, I explained you about nervous system. Today, let us discuss about, as I told you, that is about human brain. Okay, in our class today, I'm going to explain you about human brain, how human brain it is very important for us, how what are the functions of this. Let us understand this in detailed manner. Got it? So you can have a look at this picture where exactly our human brain is located. Okay, so the human brain it control nearly every aspects of human body. Got it? So it control many aspects of us, from physiological function to the cognitive ability like thinking. Yeah, definitely it is very important, because for our day-to-day activities we are very lucky to have this as a very important features in our body, and it functions by receiving and sending signals via neurons to the different parts of the body. Got it? So the human brain, just like most of the mammals, has the same basic structure, but it is better developed, well developed than any other mammalian brain. So compared to other animals, human brain it has a very good ability. So that is what we can say, the thinking ability. We have that, right? So that is why it's very important to understand about this. So and then on an average, I think you have any question about, do you know about the weight of this brain? Anybody know this? If you know, please comment me. Then if you don't know the answer, in our next class I'm going to say you that. So it is mainly composed of neuron, the fundamental unit of the brain and nervous system. So recent estimate has suggested that, so it contain anywhere between around 86 million to 100 billion neurons. Got it? So the brain along with the spinal cord, I think you are aware, you know about the spinal cord. So it constitute the central nervous system. So it is mainly responsible for thought, interpretation, origin and control of body movement. So this is regarding brain. So that is why it is quite interesting to understand about brain. Are you all interested to understand about this? Come, let us move on to the next slide. Now let us try to understand about brain in detail. So that the brain is mainly enclosed within a skull. Okay, you can see usually it is located in the skull. It provides frontal, lateral, as well as you can see the frontal, lateral and dorsal protection. It mainly consisting of 22 bones, 14 of which from facial bones and the remaining 8 from the cranial bones. So anatomically the brain it contained within the cranium and is surrounded by cerebrospinal fluid. Got it? It is mainly surrounded by cerebrospinal fluid. So what is this fluid then? It is a fluid, it is circulated within the skull. Okay, so as well as in the spinal cord, it is filling up the hollow spaces on the surface of the brain. So every day the specialized epidermal cells it produce around 500 ml of cerebrospinal fluid. So what is the function of this cerebrospinal fluid then? So it acts as a buffer for the brain, cushioning mechanism of shock, dampening minor joints. It also provides basic immunological protection to the brain. That is a major function of the cerebrospinal fluid, or we can say CSF. When you go to higher class, you're going to study in detail about this. So today we are going to discuss about the parts of the brain along with this. Human brain, it is mainly made up of different parts and compartments. So each of the function. So look at the different parts of the brain here. So you can have a look at this picture, children. So here it is divided into three types. The first one is forebrain, and the second one is midbrain, which is followed by hindbrain. So this particular part, the largest surface area, this is called forebrain, and you can have a look at here where it is located. This is midbrain, which is followed by hindbrain. So got it? So we're going to study in detail about these parts in our next slide. Come, let us move on to the next slide. Now let us try to understand about forebrain. So forebrain is the first part of a brain. It is the main thinking part of the brain, I can say. It mainly control the voluntary action. In our previous video, I asked you a question to comment about voluntary action. I did not get any answer. Okay, I'm going to tell you answer now. Voluntary action is nothing but which is under our control. So what is involuntary action? Which is not under our control. So these are two important types of actions. So these forebrain, it process sensory information. It mainly collect from the various sense organs. What are the sense organs we have? I think you all know that, right? Ear, eyes, nose, tongue, skin. So it is because of the presence of forebrain, humans are placed at the highest level in the animal chain. So it's really a God gift for us. Am I right? Am I right, children? Because we have a very good capacity, that is thinking ability. So because of that, many inventions, many things we have done. We used to study, we used to think, we used to act according to that. But what about other animals? It is difficult for that. Okay, so that is one important capacity of a human beings compared to all other mammals. So the forebrain, it mainly consisting of three different parts. So that is, one is cerebrum. You can see here the first part is cerebrum, thalamus. Second one is thalamus, which is followed by hypothalamus. These are the different parts of the cerebrum. Sorry, different parts of the forebrain. Now let us try to understand about this cerebrum. So what is the cerebrum is called? So it is the largest part of the brain. You can see here the largest surface area, it is covered by the cerebrum. It mainly consisting of parts like cerebral cortex. You can see here, and other subcortical structure. It is composed of two cerebral hemisphere that are joined together by heavy dense bands of fibers called corpus callosum. You can see here, these are joined by corpus callosum. Cerebrum is further divided into four section of lobes. You can see here, have a look at this picture. So the cerebrum is further divided into four section. That is, first one is frontal lobe, which is followed by parietal lobe, and the next one is occipital lobe, which is followed by temporal lobe. So what is this frontal lobe then? So it is mainly associated with the part of speech. So used to speech, right, planning, reasoning, problem solving, and movement. So it is controlled by this frontal lobe, which is followed by the parietal lobe. It is helpful for movements. It is helpful for the perception of stimuli as well as orientation. That is the function of this parietal lobe, and which is followed by occipital lobe. It is related to the visual processing. So that is the major function of this. And the temporal lobe, it is related to the recognition of memory, auditory stimuli, and speech. So these are the major function of these different parts of this cerebrum. So the brain consisting of these parts, it is very important functions which is played by this. And then you can see here the exterior portion of cerebrum is called cortex. This particular part is called cortex. So the cortex is extremely convoluted, due to which it has a large surface area. The cerebrum also includes sensory area to receive the messages, and associated area in sensory information. It is also form a connection between sensory as well as motor area, and motor area is responsible for the action of the voluntary muscle. So then overall, what is the function of this cerebrum then? So it is responsible for thinking, intelligence, consciousness, and memory. I hope you got it. They may ask you in the exam directly or indirectly, they may ask you this question. Please understand better. And it is also responsible for interpreting touch, hearing, as well as vision. That is a major function of cerebrum. So what about thalamus then? What is the function of this? So it is the smallest structure. You can see it is located right above the brain and is responsible for relaying sensory information from the sense organs. Relay the sensory information from the sense organs. You know what are the different sense organs? Okay. It is also responsible for transferring motor information for movement and coordination. So it is mainly present in the limbic system of cerebrum. You can see here, and then it is mainly responsible for formation of a new memory and storing past experiences. We used to remember, right, whatever the things which has happened before. So everything, it is stored by this thalamus. That is a major function of this. Another type of forebrain, that is hypothalamus. It is a small, you can see it is a very small and essential part of the brain. It is located below the thalamus. You can see it is present below the thalamus. It is considered as the primary region of the brain. What is the function of this is it receive the impulses, it regulate body temperature, it control the mood and emotion. Okay, hypothalamus even it control the mood and emotion, it control the sense of taste and smell. We used to taste different food, like, right? So that is a major function which is played by this. And smell, so we used to get a different smell, that is mainly through this hypothalamus. Synthesis, the body essential hormones, it coordinate the message from the autonomous nervous system, control appetite, peristalsis, the rate of heartbeat and blood pressure. Okay, it form an axis with the pituitary gland, which is the main link between the nervous as well as endocrine system. So these are the different parts of a forebrain. I hope you got it. Now let us move on to the next slide. Now let us try to understand about hindbrain. So it is the control center of the visual function. So we can say this is the part of the brain. It play a role in the controlling the heart rate as well as breathing, BP, blood pressure, sleep and waking up function. So the hindbrain is the three parts. What are the different parts of hindbrain? So one is medulla oblongata, pons as well as cerebellum. So these are the different parts of a hindbrain. Now let us try to understand about these functions of this hindbrain. So the first one is cerebellum. So it is the, you can see here, so this particular part is called cerebellum. It is the largest part of the brain. It is located in the posterior position of the medulla as well as pons. You can see these are medulla as well as pons. So cerebellum and cerebrum are responsible for cerebral tentorium and transverse fissure. So what is the function of the cerebrum? The main function of the cerebellum is, so it sends equilibrium. Okay, it is helpful to maintain the equilibrium and also transfer the information and also coordinate the high movement. So fine adjustment of to motor action, coordinating high movement. We used to do eye movements, like, so that is the major function which is played by this cerebellum. And also it enable precious control of the voluntary body movement. It predict the future position of the body during a particular movement. So coordinate the body balance. Okay, so and also the cerebellum is also essential for making the fine adjustment to the motor action. It coordination and body balance, posture during walking. So we used to walk straight, right? We used to bend and walk, never do that, right? So posterior posture during walking, riding, cycling. So that is the major role played by this. Standing, swimming, running are all maintained by cerebellum. Okay, so I hope you got it now how our brain is very useful for us to do all this activity, right? So that is mainly done by this cerebellum. That is a major function of this. So I hope you got it. Please understand better, children. They may ask you questions, not directly they will ask you, they will ask you indirectly. So the person is riding cycle, the which part of a brain is responsible for this, like this they will ask you. Okay, application level questions they'll ask you. Please try to understand better. So the next one is medulla oblongata. So it is the smallest structure present in the, you can see here, it is the lowest region of the brain. It is mainly control the body autonomic functions such as like heartbeat, breathing and digestion. Okay, it play a primary role in connecting the spinal cord. You can see this next part is, this part is which is continued from this is spinal cord. It helps us yeah, pons as well as cerebral cortex. It helps us in maintaining our posture and controlling our reflexes. Okay, that is mainly controlled by this medulla oblongata. You can see here, this is called medulla, and this is also medulla. Another one is pons. You can see pons. So it is the primary structure of the brain. It is present between the midbrain and medulla oblongata. So between the midbrain as well as medulla oblongata, you can see the presence of this pons. So it serves as a relay signal between the lower cerebellum, spinal cord, the midbrain, cerebrum, and other higher part of the brain. So what are the major function of this pons then? It controlling the sleep cycle. Okay, so it regulate the magnitude and frequency of the respiration, and also it transfer information between the cerebellum as well as motor cortex. It is also involved in sensations such as sense of taste, hearing, balance. It is also responsible for that. So these are the major functions of these parts of hindbrain. I hope you got it. Please understand better. They may ask you questions based on this. So let us move on to the next slide. Have a look at this video, the different parts of the brain you can see here as I explained you. So these are the different parts of the brain which is present in your body. So it is perform a different functions. I explained you what are the different functions which is performed by different parts of a brain. So clearly see this video. So you will recall what are the parts I explained. You can see this is cerebellum, this is cerebrum, and also you can see here pons, medulla, as well as other parts of the brain you can see clearly here. I hope you understand better. Okay, let us move on to the next slide. Now let's try to understand about the very important concept, that is reflex action. So it is an involuntary, or I can say sudden response to the stimulus. What is response and stimuli? For example, if I touch a hot object, okay, so if I touch a hot object, what I will do, I will suddenly withdraw my hand, right? So if, whatever the whenever I will touch the object which is hot, so that is what we call as a stimulus. But response, when you withdraw your hand, you will show the response, that is what we call as response. Okay, this is what we call as stimulus as well as response. So it is a special case of involuntary movement which is not under our control. So it is performed by involuntary organs. So usually you can say it happens to be an integral part of formed survival instinct. So most of the reflexes are response to all well-trained and accumulated knowledge that we have internalized. So for example, I can say, if we touch, withdrawing the hands as it comes in contact with the extremely hot or cold object. So as I gave an example just now, so this action is termed as a reflex action. So it has a very important role. So let us try to understand about this reflex action with this picture. So have a look at this picture, you will understand better. So the two neurons dominate the pathway here. So that is, one is afferent neurons, or we can say receptors, and the afferent neurons, or we can say effectors. Okay, so effectors, this is effectors, and afferent neurons are called as receptors. So what are the process which is happening here? Firstly, what happened, it begin with the receptors. So it detect the stimulus. So here one candle as well as you can see the light is here. So when we touch this light, so immediately we used to withdraw our hand. Firstly, it begins with receptors. It detect the stimulus or sudden changes in the environment. So what happened here, the stimulus is received from a sensory organs, from where we will receive from sensory organ. So which is followed by relay neuron. You can see the first step is stimulus, which is followed by receptors which stimulate that, and which is pain receptor stimulated here. And later here what happened, signals sent along the sensory neuron. So this is the which is followed with the relay neuron sending the signals to the motor neuron. So here you can see here, so these relay neuron, fourth step, you can see it signal passed along the relay neuron. It is, that is what we call as a message is sent to the brain here. Okay, it send a signal to the effector. So later what happened, the motor neuron, it send from here, it will send a signal sent to the motor neuron. From a motor neuron, it send a signal to the effector, the fifth step, sixth step you can see here. So this effector You can see effector muscle, effector produces an instantaneous response. For example, pulling away the hand, suddenly we used to withdraw our hand, right? So these are the processes which is take place within a fraction of second while withdrawing our hand. So that just try to understand how important our brain, right? So this is regarding from the ABOX, which can be clearly summarized that the moment of afferent neuron receive a signal from the sensory organ, it transmits the impulses via the route into the central nervous system. The effector neuron then carry the signal from central nervous system to the effector. So it replaces form a reflex action. In the reflex action, signal do not route to the brain. Instead, it directed into the synapse to the. It directly send the message to the spinal cord. Okay, so here motor neuron, it is marked by blue color, and sensory neurons are in red color, and relay neuron are in green. So I hope you got it. So reflex action is a sudden and involuntary response to the stimulus. It helps in organisms to quickly adapt to the adverse circumstances that have caused bodily harm, even death. It will protect us from any dangerous which causes effect on our body. Pulling our hands immediately after touching a hot or cold object is a very good example for reflex action. I hope you got it. Let us move on to the next slide. Now try to understand about reflex arc. Okay, so what is reflex arc? The path through which the nerve signals involved in reflex action. The pathway of the reflex action, that is what we call as reflex arc. So the following are the flow chart which is given the reflex arc as I explained you before. So receptors, you can see here, it receive the stimulus. From there it will send the message to the sensory neuron, and impulses is transmitted down to the central nervous system. From there it will transfer to the relay neurons. So this is what we call as relay neurons. It runs through the sensory and motor neurons, and which is followed by, you can see the impulses move from central nervous system to the motor neuron, from brain to the motor neuron. So which is followed by effectors. It causes a protection from response against the stimulus. See, the person will withdraw his hand immediately. So the pathway of this is what we called as reflex action. Got it? The pathway through which the nerve signals involved in reflex action is called reflex arc. Okay, let us move on to the next slide. Okay, let us try to understand about the protection of brain and spinal cord. So you know that central nervous system, it is made up of the two important parts of our body, that is brain as well as spinal cord. So this brain, it control how we think, learn, move and feel. I already explained you what is the function of brain. So what about spinal cord then? So it carry the message back and forth between the brain and nerves that run throughout the body. That is better example I can say in the reflex action. The spinal cord, it play a very important role. So both brain and spinal cord are protected by bone. So the brain of the brain, it is protected by skull. Okay, it's very important. Try to understand. The brain, it is protected by skull, and the spinal cord, it's protected by vertebral column. Okay, so we have a long spinal cord. So I hope you got it where exactly the spinal cord it is located. So it is protected by vertical column. That is what we call as a set of ring of shrink-shaped bone. They both cushioned by layer of membranes called meninges and cerebrospinal fluid. You can see, have a look at this spinal cord. The fluid flow through the hollow space in the brain called ventricles and around the spine in the spinal column. It protects the central nervous system, nourishes it and takes away the waste product. So this is regarding the protection of brain as well as spinal cord. I hope you got it. So till now I explained you about the brain and its function and different concepts we understand here. So in our next class, I'm going to explain you about the very important concept. I will tell you in my next slide. So till now whatever I have explained, I hope you got it, children. If you have any doubt, please comment me in a comment box. So please share this channel, then it will be very useful for many students. So I've been teaching here for their benefit. Whatever the things I explained here, it is very useful for students of 10th standard CBSE. That is about control and coordination. Try to understand better, and in our next class I will teach you the very important concept. Come, let us discuss that in our next slide. In our next class I'm going to explain you about endocrine system. So I hope you got it till now, whatever I explained. And finally, I wanted to say you, please do share my channel, like my channel, and subscribe my channel. It might be useful to many students. Thank you.